3% of GDP. That's how much America spends on defense in 2026. Not 5%, not 6%, 3%. The lowest percentage since before the Cold War. And here's the number that should terrify you. In inflation-adjusted terms, America's defense spending in 2025 equals $688 billion in 2009 purchasing power. We're spending the same amount we spent in 2009. Same real dollars. But here's what's different. In 2009, we faced one major adversary, Russia, already weakened. Today, we face 4 simultaneous threats. China building the largest navy in history. Russia invading European neighbors. Iran on the verge of nuclear weapons. North Korea with ICBMs that can reach American cities. 4 peer-level threats, same defense budget. And if you think that math works, I need you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to show you. Because while everyone's been watching inflation, stock markets, and political drama, something catastrophic has been building in America's military readiness. Weapons stockpiles at dangerous lows, shipyards can't build fast enough, recruitment failing across all branches, ammunition reserves depleted from Ukraine aid. And the procurement budget, the money used to buy new weapons, is 30% below Reagan-era levels after adjusting for inflation. 30%. We're not preparing for war, we're inviting it. This is an opinion. This is documented Pentagon data, congressional testimony, defense contractor reports, numbers you can verify yourself. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this $688 billion number represents the most dangerous military situation America has faced in 75 years. Because there's a pattern here, a historical pattern. The same pattern that preceded Pearl Harbor, the same pattern that preceded 9/11, the same pattern that always precedes catastrophic surprise attacks. And we're watching it unfold again right now in real time. The only question is whether America will wake up before it's too late, or whether we'll be asking like previous generations, how we didn't see the warning signs when they were everywhere. Stick with me, because the next 15 minutes could change everything you think you know about national security. Let me show you something most Americans never learn. Military weakness doesn't deter aggression, it invites it. And throughout history, there's a precise 4-stage pattern that precedes major wars. This isn't theory, this is documented across every major conflict of the last century. Same 4 stages, same warning signs, same catastrophic outcome when ignored. Let me break down the 4-stage cycle that repeats before every preventable war. Stage 1, the peace dividend phase. After a major war or prolonged military buildup, public pressure mounts to cut defense spending. People want resources shifted to domestic programs, healthcare, education, infrastructure. Politicians respond by slashing military budgets. They cancel weapons programs. They close bases. They reduce force structure. The justification is always the same. The threat is gone. We won. We don't need massive military anymore. This peace dividend feels good temporarily. More money for social programs, lower deficits. Everyone celebrates. This stage typically lasts 5 to 10 years. The military shrinks while potential adversaries watch and plan. Stage 2, the rising threat phase. Adversarial nations notice the military decline and start testing boundaries. Small provocations at first, border incidents, cyber attacks, aggressive naval maneuvers. If there's no strong response, they escalate. They accelerate their own military buildups. They form alliances with other adversaries. They develop new weapon systems specifically designed to exploit American weaknesses. Meanwhile, the declining power keeps cutting defense budgets. The threat is dismissed as exaggerated. Politicians claim diplomacy will solve everything. Intelligence agencies issue warnings that get ignored. The stage lasts 3 to 7 years. The window for prevention starts closing. Stage 3, the deterrence failure phase. This is the critical point. Adversaries now believe they can win a conflict. They've watched the military decline for years. They've calculated force ratios. They've identified critical vulnerabilities. They've positioned their military assets. They're ready. But there's a problem. The declining power still doesn't recognize the danger. Budget cuts continue. Readiness degrades further. Weapons stockpiles deplete. Recruitment falls short. Training gets reduced. The gap between threat and capability widens dangerously. This stage lasts 12 to 36 months. It's the final warning before Stage 4. Stage 4, the war phase. Something triggers conflict. Could be a miscalculation, could be a deliberate attack, could be a crisis that spirals. The declining power suddenly realizes they're unprepared. They scramble to mobilize. They try to ramp up production. They call up reserves, but it's too late. Wars are won with the military you have, not the military you wish you had. Initial losses mount. Industrial base can't produce fast enough. Allies question commitment. The cost in lives and treasure exceeds everything that would have been spent on prevention. This stage lasts months to years. The damage is catastrophic and irreversible. Now let me prove this pattern is real with 3 historical examples. 3 times America entered wars unprepared because we ignored the 4-stage pattern. Same stages, same warnings, same devastating consequences. 1931 to 1941, the road to Pearl Harbor. After World War I, America slashed military spending dramatically. The peace dividend. Isolationist sentiment dominated. Army reduced to 135,000 troops, smaller than Portugal's army. Navy construction frozen. Air Force, which didn't exist a separate branch yet, had obsolete biplanes, stage 1 complete. Meanwhile, Japan conquered Manchuria in 1931. Italy invaded Ethiopia in 1935. Germany remilitarized the Rhineland in 1936. Austria annexed in 1938. Czechoslovakia, 1939. Poland invaded September 1939. World War II begins in Europe. What did America do? Stayed neutral, kept military spending low, passed neutrality acts, believed two oceans provided security. Stage 2 ignored completely. 1939 to 1941. Japan, Germany, and Italy formed the Axis Alliance. Germany conquered France in 6 weeks. Britain stood alone. Japan expanded throughout Asia. American intelligence warned repeatedly. Admiral Stark, Chief of Naval Operations, testified that the fleet was inadequate for a two-ocean war. Congress debated, but didn't act decisively. Meanwhile, Japan prepared for war. They studied American weaknesses. They positioned forces throughout the Pacific. They built carrier strike groups specifically designed to attack Pearl Harbor. American deterrence had failed. We couldn't prevent what we weren't prepared to fight. Stage 3 complete. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. 2,403 Americans killed in 2 hours. 8 battleships sunk or damaged. 3 cruisers hit. 3 destroyers damaged. 188 aircraft destroyed on the ground. The Pacific Fleet crippled. America entered World War II completely unprepared. It took 2 years just to build enough ships and planes to start winning. 16 million Americans served. 405,000 died. Over $1 trillion spent in today's money. All because we ignored the pattern. All because we believed peace dividend logic. All because we failed to deter aggression when deterrence was still possible. Stage 4 arrived with devastating force. 1991 to 2001, the road to 9/11. After the Soviet Union collapsed, America collected its peace dividend again. Defense spending dropped from 6.2% of GDP in 1986 to 3% by 2000. Base closures, force reductions, weapons program cancellations. Everyone celebrated. The Cold War was over. We won. No more need for massive military. Stage 1 verified. Meanwhile, threats metastasized differently. Not nation-states, terrorist organizations. Al-Qaeda formed. They attacked Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia in 1996, killed 19 Americans. We barely responded. They bombed U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998. 224 killed. We launched cruise missiles, but nothing decisive. They attacked USS Cole in Yemen in 2000. 17 sailors killed. Again, limited response. Why? Because we didn't take the threat seriously. We were collecting peace dividends. Terrorism was law enforcement problem, not military problem. Stage 2 dismissed. 1998 to 2001. Al-Qaeda planned 9/11 for 3 years. They infiltrated operatives into America. They learned to fly. They conducted surveillance. They financed operations. Intelligence agencies had fragments of information but didn't connect them. Nobody believed terrorists could execute that scale of attack on American soil. Our deterrence wasn't designed for non-state actors. Our military focused on conventional threats. The gap between reality and preparation widened catastrophically. Stage 3 missed entirely. September 11th, 2001. 2,977 Americans murdered in one morning. 4 planes. 3 targets. Pentagon damaged. World Trade Center destroyed. Pennsylvania field. America entered 20 years of war in Afghanistan and Iraq. $2.3 trillion spent. 7,000 American service members killed. Over 50,000 wounded. All because the 4-stage pattern repeated. All because we didn't recognize that deterrence requires capability, not just intentions. Stage 4 delivered with horrific consequences. Now let me show you why we're deep into Stage 3 right now in January 2026, and why Stage 4 could materialize faster than anyone expects. 1990 to 2015. America collected its peace dividend after the Cold War. Defense spending as percent of GDP fell from 6% to 3%. Seemed reasonable. Soviet threat gone. No peer competitors. Focus shifted to counterterrorism after 9/11, but even that wound down after bin Laden's death in 2011. By 2015, defense spending hit historic lows as percentage of both GDP and federal budget. Only 3% of GDP. Only 10% of federal budget. Compare that to 30% of federal budget at Cold War's end. We cut defense by 2/3 as share of government spending. Stage 1 complete. The peace dividend was collected. 2015 to 2023. China accelerated military modernization dramatically. Their defense spending increased every year. They built the world's largest navy, over 350 ships, bigger than U.S. Navy. They developed hypersonic missiles specifically to sink American carriers. They militarized South China Sea, built artificial islands with air bases and missile batteries. They unified command structures, increased readiness. Meanwhile, Russia invaded Crimea in 2014. Nobody stopped them. Annexed territory from a sovereign nation. We imposed sanctions, but took no military action. Russia concluded NATO was weak, so in February 2022, they invaded all of Ukraine. Iran developed advanced centrifuges, enriching uranium to near weapons grade. North Korea tested ICBMs that can reach Los Angeles, 4 simultaneous peer threats, all accelerating military capabilities, all testing American resolve. Stage 2 in full effect, 2023 to 2026. Here's where it gets critical. America's defense industrial base is broken. We can't produce weapons fast enough. Artillery shells Ukraine example. Before the war, U.S. produced 14,155 mm artillery shells per month. Ukraine uses that many in 2 days. We've sent over 2 million shells. Our stockpiles depleted to dangerous levels. Production ramped up to 28,000 per month by mid-2025, but that's still inadequate. Meanwhile, Russia produces 3 million shells per year. China's production capacity dwarfs ours. Shipbuilding crisis. China launches more naval tonnage in 1 year than America's entire fleet. Our shipyards can build maybe 2 attack submarines per year. China builds 6 to 8. We have 4 shipyards capable of military construction. China has over 100. The gap widens every month. Recruitment catastrophe. Army missed its recruiting goal by 15,000 in fiscal year 2023. Navy short 8,000. All branches struggling. Why? Low pay relative to private sector, declining physical fitness in young population, lack of family military tradition after 2 decades of Middle East wars. Whatever the reasons, the result is the same. Force structure shrinking when threats are growing. Ammunition stockpiles critical low. After sending massive quantities to Ukraine and Israel, U.S. military stocks of Javelins, Stingers, HIMARS rockets, all well below wartime requirements. It takes years to rebuild. Manufacturers don't have capacity to surge production. You can't just flip a switch and double output. These are complex weapons requiring specialized components. Stage 3 verified. Deterrence is failing. Here's the $688 billion number. In inflation-adjusted terms, America's 2025 defense budget of $850 billion equals approximately $688 billion in 2009 purchasing power. Same real spending, but in 2009, we faced one declining adversary, Russia. Today, we face China with economy 10 times larger than Russia's. Plus Russia still, plus Iran, plus North Korea, 4 threats. Same budget. That's insane mathematics. Defense spending as percent of GDP is 3%, lowest since before World War II. By comparison, during Reagan buildup in 1980s, we spent 6% of GDP. During Vietnam, 8 to 10%. During Korea, 12%. During World War II, 37%. We're at 3% facing the worst threat environment since 1941. Admiral Mike Mullen, former chairman Joint Chiefs, called 4% of GDP the absolute floor for adequate defense. We're 25% below that minimum. The gap is catastrophic. Procurement and R&D spending, the accounts that buy new weapons and develop future systems, is 30% below Reagan-era levels after inflation adjustment. 30%. We're not building the weapons we'll need in 5 years. We're not developing the technologies that will determine who wins the next war. China spends over $300 billion per year on military R&D, more than America's entire procurement budget. They're developing AI-guided autonomous weapons, hypersonic systems, directed energy weapons, space-based capabilities. Meanwhile, America debates whether we can afford new fighter jets. The technology gap that America maintained for 75 years is closing. In some areas, it's already closed. Now I know what you're thinking. But America still spends more than the next 10 countries combined in absolute terms. True, but meaningless. First, our costs are higher. All volunteer force is expensive. American soldiers earn middle-class salaries with full benefits. Chinese soldiers earn a fraction of that. Second, we have global commitments. Europe, Asia, Middle East. Our military is stretched thin. China focuses regionally. They only need to win in the Pacific. Third, our industrial base is expensive. Labor costs in America versus China are 5 to 10 times higher. So yes, we spend more dollars, but we get less capability per dollar. The efficiency advantage belongs to our adversaries. But we have better technology. Qualitative advantage, also true, but narrowing rapidly. F-35 fighter jet, our most advanced, costs $110 million. China's J-20 fighter costs approximately $70 million. Not as good, but 3/4 as capable at 2/3 the price. They can build 3 to our 1. In sustained conflict, quantity has a quality all its own. Stalin said that. He was right. The country that can produce more tanks, more planes, more ships usually wins long wars. Right now, that country isn't America. That's China. Here's what Stage 4 looks like based on current trajectory. China calculates they can seize Taiwan before America can effectively respond. They see our weapons stockpiles low. They see our shipbuilding capacity minimal. They see our political divisions. They see recruitment problems. They see industrial base weaknesses. They calculate a window of opportunity. Maybe 2027, maybe 2028, maybe 2029. Whenever their assessment says American deterrence is weakest, they strike. Massive surprise attack, thousands of missiles, cyber attacks, coordinated assault. Taiwan's defense holds days, not weeks. America tries to respond, but our carriers are vulnerable to hypersonic missiles. Our air bases in Japan and Guam get hit immediately. Our logistics can't move forces fast enough. Our ammunition runs out quickly. Our industrial base can't surge production fast enough. The very weaknesses we're allowing today become catastrophic when conflict starts. Simultaneously, Russia sees America focused on Pacific. They calculate NATO won't fight without American backing. They push into Baltics. Article 5 gets invoked. America now faces two-front war. We're completely unprepared to fight. Iran seizes opportunity, attacks Israel, closes Strait of Hormuz, oil prices spike, global economy crashes, North Korea miscalculates. They think America is distracted. They shell South Korea. Now it's 4 simultaneous conflicts on the nightmare scenario, and we created it by ignoring the pattern, by believing peace dividend logic, by thinking 3% GDP was enough, by assuming adversaries would never coordinate, by hoping deterrence works without capability. So what does this mean practically? For you, specifically? Starting today? First, understand the timeline. If the pattern holds, Stage 4 arrives within 12 to 36 months from when Stage 3 becomes obvious. Stage 3 became obvious around mid-2024, when procurement accounts hit historic lows and China's military buildup accelerated. That puts Stage 4 window somewhere between mid-2025 and mid-2027. Maybe sooner if tensions escalate, maybe slightly later if diplomacy succeeds temporarily. But the trend is clear. Second, America will likely face mandatory defense mobilization if war comes. Draft possibilities, wartime production. Economic controls, civil defense, all things forgotten since Vietnam, but they'll return if conflict starts. That means young Americans could face conscription, families could face rationing, industries could face mandated production. Society will transform overnight from peacetime to wartime. Better to prepare mentally now than panic later. Third, economic consequences would be immediate and severe. War with China means supply chains collapse. 80% of generic drugs manufactured in China. Most electronics, countless consumer goods. Those disappear overnight. Plus, China holds over $760 billion in U.S. Treasuries. They sell, dollar crashes, inflation explodes, interest rates spike, stock markets collapse. Recession or depression follows. The economic fallout might exceed the military costs. Fourth, nuclear risks become real. China has approximately 500 warheads. Russia has 6,000. Both have ICBMs. Both have doctrine allowing first use under certain circumstances. War between nuclear powers always carries escalation risk. Most likely stays conventional. But the possibility of nuclear exchange, even limited, becomes non-zero. That's risk we haven't faced seriously since Cuban Missile Crisis. Fifth, war could be prevented right now with proper defense investment. That's the tragedy. Stage 4 isn't inevitable, it's preventable. If America increased defense spending from 3% GDP to 5%, invested in shipbuilding, ammunition production, industrial capacity, recruitment, readiness, we'd restore deterrence. 5% GDP equals roughly $1.5 trillion per year. That's an additional $600 billion annually. Sounds enormous. But compare it to cost of war. World War II cost over $4 trillion in today's dollars. Lives lost immeasurable. 5% GDP for prevention is bargain compared to 37% GDP for fighting after deterrence fails. Sixth, contact your representatives. This isn't partisan. Both parties have failed. Republicans want tax cuts. Democrats want social programs. Both underfund defense. Both ignore warnings. Both prioritize short-term political wins over long-term security. Change that. Write, call, email your senators and congressperson. Demand they increase defense appropriations. Demand they fund shipbuilding. Demand they address recruitment. Demand they rebuild stockpiles. Make it political priority. Democracy requires informed citizens, holding leaders accountable. Seventh, study the pattern historically. Everything I've shown you is documented. Congressional Budget Office reports, Pentagon assessments, defense contractor statements, all public. Read them. The pattern is clear. Peace dividend leads to rising threats, leads to deterrence failure, leads to preventable wars. It happened before World War II. It happened before 9/11. It's happening again now. Knowledge is your defense against propaganda claiming everything's fine. Eighth, prepare for disruption. Even if war doesn't materialize, the recognition of military weakness will force changes. Defense spending will increase eventually. That means higher taxes or higher deficits, or both. It means inflation from weapons production. It means labor shortages in civilian economy. It means geopolitical instability. Position yourself accordingly. Reduce debt, increase savings, diversify assets. Don't be caught over-leveraged when global shocks hit. The information is here. The pattern is clear. The data is verifiable. The warning signs are everywhere. Defense spending at 3% GDP, $688 billion in real inflation-adjusted terms, same as 2009. 4 simultaneous threats, weapons, stockpiles low, industrial base inadequate, recruitment failing, deterrence eroding. We're in stage 3. Stage 4 comes next. The mathematics are inevitable unless we act. The only question is whether America will recognize the pattern and prevent the war, or whether we'll repeat history again, asking ourselves afterward how we didn't see the warning signs when they were everywhere. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Do you believe America's military is adequately funded? Are you concerned about China? What should defense priorities be? I read every single comment. Subscribe now because the next video reveals exactly which defense companies are positioned for the coming buildup and which weapon systems will determine who wins the next great power conflict. You don't want to miss it. The pattern doesn't care about politics. It doesn't wait for consensus. It doesn't need permission. It just unfolds like mathematics, like gravity, like history, repeating because we refuse to learn. Stage 1, peace dividend. Stage 2, rising threats. Stage 3, deterrence failure. Stage 4, war. We're in stage 3. Thanks for watching. And remember, the people who prevent wars aren't always the ones who win them. They're the ones who recognize the pattern and have the courage to act before it's too late.